Yeah. But we gotta remember.
Good evening, everyone. The time is now 7:32, and we will begin open session. I would ask all to rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. We will begin this evening with a public hearing on the 2021 property tax levy. Are there any comments regarding the public hearing? Thank you. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion is passed and the hearing is now closed. We will now proceed to agenda-related public participation. Marilyn, do we have any agenda-related comments this evening? We do not. Thank you. We'll now move on to, do we have Andrew Johannes this evening? Hi there, Andrew, how are you?
Good evening. I am Andrew Johannes. I'm the president of the Teachers Union. We continue to support the paraeducators. We hope that a contract negotiation can go well, and we hope that that can be resolved quickly. The union is concerned with the dramatic increase of COVID cases here at the school. We strongly encourage everyone to get boosted, vaccinated, and wear masks. We oppose anti-science aggression that has resulted in the continuation of this pandemic. We only can fight this as a community and working together, so we ask for everyone's help. But tonight, I'd rather highlight some cool things that our teachers do. So we have approximately 300 teachers. The average teacher has 15 years of experience. 91% of us have a master's degree. The average teacher, this means that the LT teachers have over 4,500 years of experience and approximately 16,000 hours of graduate work. The teachers are not only committed to providing an excellent education, but also well-rounded experience for all students. A majority of teachers are involved in extracurricular activities. This means that 100 plus clubs and 30 sports are all staffed by LT faculty. Here are a few highlights of the amazing work that our teachers have done this semester. The nurses continue to do the job of 10 people. The job has increased in the last few weeks as the number of COVID cases increased. We are grateful for their hard work and dedication in keeping the students healthy and safe. Chemistry, learned about polymers and plastics by making slime, learned about elastics, long versus short chain polymers, and being environmentally aware of how to recycle properly. Also, chemistry classes have been using games to teach different topics and have been hard work helping students catch up to the year they missed. The PE staff, they have a self-defense class that are preparing for a simulation, a culminating activity for classes where students are able to safely use their skills to escape a simulated assault situation. Dance Fitness completed a lesson embedded in emotion and exercise. They concluded that with the thought that simply by being in nature, engaging in exercise can be one of the effective ways of changing your mental attitude. The art department has been very busy this semester. They have publicly displayed student work in a variety of venues, including Oswego High School, the Thomas Ford Library, and Instagram. The art club held a tie-dye workshop where 65 masks were donated to the LT Care Space, window decorations, various clay workshops, and a fleece hat workshop. Patrick Page, in particular, is working with the librarians in the Morton Arboretum to plant trees at both campuses on May 14th, and so we're very happy to announce that. The math has a new course. It's the STEM research. Every student has a mentor in his weekly communication with a professional or a college student that can help them and support their research. Students have spent their semester learning what research is, finding sources, doing a literature review, designing their project, presenting aspects of their projects, and learning how to network and communicate with each other and experts. In language arts, creative writing had students submit entries to an area contest. Julia Alvarado won first place at the Indian Prairie Teen Poetry Contest. Congratulations. The senior counselors have made their PLCs into seniors coming to school every Wednesday to get personalized help on their college applications. They had about 30 students every Wednesday asking great questions, helping one another, and getting the encouragement they needed and filling out questions and essays. The Global Studies Division, the business classes are completing the Shark Tank activities. This is a great partnership between the community and students. The students present their business ideas, and local sharks decide whether to invest in their ideas or not. Civics classes are having elections where students try to get elected by all the students in the civic classes, a great lesson in civic responsibility. The child development classes are wrapping up their Little Lyons preschool this week. This has been the first time in 2 years that they've had preschoolers. Our students are very excited. They've researched and implemented development appropriate lessons for the Little Lyons and look forward to next semester. These are just a few examples of the amazing work our teachers do on a daily basis. And so I want to applaud all the people that I represent tonight. Finally, thank you for your continued support for us to do the amazing things that we can do with students. We want to wish you a happy holidays and a happy new year. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. I want to applaud them too. That's great. No shortage of excitement around here and lots going on. So with that, actually I'm going to take it over to our student representative, Amina Qureshi, and she's going to update us on what's going on with our students here this month, December.
Yes, the LT Theater Board has confirmed the cast list for Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Student Co. has finished Secret Santa and has given 160 kids gifts for the holidays. LT Interact Club and the Fashion Club had made blankets for the Linus project as well. Speech team has taken 3rd out of 20 schools and 17 individual medals, which is amazing. The LTHS Lifeguard Club is still doing their pet drive where you donate pet toys, leashes, food until the 31st, so it's not too late to donate. The Arabic Club made bookmarks out of papyrus paper with their names written in hieroglyphics. And the debate team has 4 individual winners and the best legislation award. Model UN has had a few wins at Walter Payton and is trying to create some team spirit before the winter season. Social Action Project helped out at St. Cletus for their holiday gift drive, and LTH Music has 10 students for the ILMEA All-Stars. French Club has made Yule logs, which is kind of like a Swiss roll dessert. And the LTHS Latin Club has placed 3rd place in their 2nd meet. And the Best Buddies have a holiday party on the 22nd at 6:30 for all students. In terms of sports, esports, their Overwatch team has gotten 2nd in state. Coach Godino has been named the Assistant Coach of the Year, which is an amazing accomplishment. Boys basketball won against Prospect High School, and girls basketball won against Downers Grove North. Boys swimming, they were team champions at the Marmion International. And the wrestling, bowling, and cheer are still going strong with their meets. They're working very hard to win all of their competitions. 225 LT seniors have been named Illinois State Scholars. Their selection is based off of performing in the top 1/2 of their high school class and scoring 95th percentile in the ACT or the SAT. On January 19th, 2022, we'll have our Future Freshman Night, and I'm very excited to see all the new faces in school. The social awareness and perspective taking and advanced social awareness, as well as the perspective taking programs, raised $700 for the Hinsdale Humane Society. And of course, congratulations to the December students of the month. They were nominated by their teachers and selected by various departments as the most exemplary students in their subject. That's it. Thank you.
That's a lot. Thank you. That's amazing. We'd like to wish everyone, all of our students and staff and faculty, to have a really nice winter break. Very much enjoyed. Thank you. And guess with that, we'll turn that over to Dr. Waterman for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Dillon, and I'm going to thank you for an awesome report tonight and always, every month. So I want to start with a brief update about the discussions we've been having in our district regarding our grading practices. This has been a focus of our work since 2017, and especially late in this semester. We've heard some recent concerns expressed that have primarily been focused on the number and type of summative assessments used to calculate a grade, student motivation to complete formative work or homework, student tendency to fall into a retake cycle, and the lack of a traditional final exam schedule. So our focus since mid-November has been to hear these concerns and identify if there are some short-term adjustments that we can make for second semester that don't take us off course with our long-term goals around grading and assessment. So with assistance from the grading practices implementation team, which is composed of teachers, a counselor, an inclusion facilitator, and some administrators, our administrative team looked at where we are, and we are implementing some adjustments that address these concerns. For second semester, we will include an emphasis that students can expect frequent summative assessments within each course. Course teams will use multiple types of summative assessments in the calculation of a grade, and that presentations and quizzes and lab reports and activities and performance assessments, essays, and traditional tests can all be counted as summative assessments. To address some of the concerns around homework motivation, students are going to be required to submit homework prior to that initial summative in order to be eligible for the retake. We want to try to get students off of the retake cycle that was reported this past semester. And then to address the concern about the final exam schedule, we're reinstating the final exam period schedule at the end of second semester. So when we return from winter break here in a few weeks, we will have some official semester one grade data to review, and we'll be sharing that data on our grading practices website. We're also going to be seeking some feedback on this topic through a survey that will be sent in mid-January, and then we'll be sharing a more comprehensive update to our Board of Ed at the February 15th Committee of the Whole meeting when we can share this data. And then finally, throughout second semester, our grading practices implementation team will continue to work to review this data, kind of see where we are, and make any suggested revisions moving forward. So I just want to express appreciation to our staff, to our leadership team, who really have always prioritized this conversation, celebrating the progress that's been made and the work that's happened. But especially since November, there's been a lot of work done in a short amount of time. And all of the information that I just shared, plus way more details and clarification, was sent to our faculty and staff this morning and then to our community later on this afternoon. But I just wanted to highlight for our board some of the work that has been done here recently. Moving on to COVID, it's been a hot topic as well. In light of the recent news regarding the increasing number of COVID cases, we are certainly seeing that at LT as well, with an increase in positive cases and close contacts on campus since last week. Within Cook County, as well as within our own communities here at LT, the communities that feed into LT, COVID transmission has increased from substantial to high over the past few weeks. We certainly remain committed to in-person learning activities as we have all year. We're going to use our existing mitigation efforts, and we're going to continue to work with the health department and their guidelines to continue in-person learning as much as we can. In addition, we're now in our fourth week of offering weekly screening testing through North Shore Clinical, which is recommended for all unvaccinated students, as well as testing for any student who develops symptoms while they are at school. We have a link to the registration and the consent form. It can be found on our website, on our health services webpage. And weekly screening through North Shore will not be available over winter break, but we will resume that as soon as we return from winter break. And then, of course, as Andrew talked about as well, vaccination continues to be the #1 mitigation effort recommended by the CDC, by the Illinois Department of Public Health, by the Cook County Department of Public Health, and here at LT as well. Over 90% of our staff and almost 60% of our students have provided proof of vaccination. We encourage all eligible individuals to get vaccinated and to get boosted. We'll continue to provide updates to our community on our COVID mitigation efforts, certainly if they're modified in any way, and we will also be monitoring this topic pretty closely when we return January 3rd for second semester. So just a couple quick updates. I'm going to pause right there because I want to introduce Kate Kelly, who's going to introduce some students. We have Yanfu and we have Kate Badroff to present the LT Community Advisory Council consensus from the last meeting. They met on November 17th, and Dr. Rowe, LT's Director of Equity and Belonging, presented to the council all of the work that's been happening this fall. And so with that, Kate, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. We were lucky enough to have Dr. Rowe come to speak to us about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I do have two students with me today. Kate is a freshman and Yanfu is a senior. And will present one of the questions that was asked. The first consensus question that we were asked was concerning the equity statement. What are your takeaways from the District 204 equity statement? What does it mean to you as a student, parent, staff member, or community member? Here are our responses. It's a code to follow. Documentation is a benefit. It's an anchor that provides structure and flexibility, but nothing about strategy. It should have been more specific and direct. What are the budgeting ideas? The statement is very broad, but lack of limits is great in regard to inclusion. Add best of our ability to make it realistic. Student engagement. How do more students get involved? Students are not talking about the events or activities. A student noted that this statement should be known by the whole student body. It's positive that emotional health is included. It's aspirational, a future state. It was suggested that it be made shorter. Where is the priority in this statement? It's global. What about more teacher diversity? Hiring practices need to be addressed. It's a question of balance. The time frame isn't there. Students will hold themselves to a higher standard when they feel respected. It's good to bring outside community agencies in to connect and see opportunities within school and outside school. Desire to participate does not always lead to the ability to participate. Begin discussing college planning early, sophomore year or earlier. Appreciate that we have one to share. For the community, it's a point of pride, non-negotiable, amazing work. A student shared that everyone deserves a place, a sense of belonging. For the community, it could be shortened, doesn't speak to students, needs to be more heartfelt. Teacher inclusion in the statement, it's about time. Getting information out to all groups, community, students, parents, and teachers. Define Vita Plena in terms of equity and access. Anchor traditions with equity. A student shared, keeping up with email is hard, and the timing seems off. There's a great opportunity here for students to take responsibility to make this successful, make it part of the curriculum. With a population of 4,000, how do you catch those that may be lost? One-to-one computers have gone a long way to level the field. We appreciate the deliberate attempt to address the equity issue. It's a great first step. It seems like people are being invited, but communication of events is limited in regards to student activities. How can parents be more informed to help students shift through information? Hopefully, the new website design will help this. Let user customize the information that they get. Kate.
Our second question was, what do you feel the community understands about equity and belonging? What gaps do you feel our community has in their understanding of equity and belonging? Our responses were, community knows terms and is supportive but doesn't know what to do to get help. Confusion around the definition of equity. If someone gets more, does that mean I get less? Demographics have changed. Do people know about data and demographic changes? We have had. Understanding privilege and advantage. The have families not understanding the have-nots. Understanding and having empathy for basic needs not being met in our local community. Gap in understand how institutions have not been equitable historically. High performance is highly valued in our community. Can be at risk of SEL focus. Is this being normalized? Leads to high stress. Gaps. Community members feeling afraid that education is intending to put one group down while raising another up. Students are still using slurs and are unaware of their impact. They need a better level of awareness and respect. Students who might not feel valued by school are not always respectful in hallways and lunchroom environments. More authentic conversations in classroom about inclusivity and respect. Pros. LT responsiveness when attention is called to problematic, offensive student behaviors. Teachers are respectful, supportive, and making good connections. Tutoring, peer behaviors, and help centers but more support is needed. Chromebooks have helped make an equal playing field. Know me, know my name. Board of Education drama. How to communicate with respect and understanding triggers. Acknowledgement with the difference between kids and parents' politics. Respect others' values. People are too quick to get defensive, set ideas that seem unchangeable. Financial confusion. Need to be shown benefits versus the costs. It is difficult to break down habits, but it starts with sharing personal experiences and stories. Majority of people have set ideals but lack exposure to other cultures and diversity. Threatened by new things and changes. Needs communication. Students who are highest achievers only associate with other high achievers because that is who is in their classes. Study hall helps, but it would be better if socializing was allowed. How do you reach those who could/should be personally invited to the table? Who or how is responsible? Everyone? More social workers and counselors are needed. Grade schools. Families, staff, and students of different ages meet together in small social groups. Can this be repeated in community, staff, students, and parents? Feeder schools have different school cultures and different access to technology and enrichment. Are some groups behind before they can start at LT? Virtual lunch is a good idea.
The third question we have are, what are some ways LT can better support students and families as we know to be a more inclusive school/community? Our responses were, more stances, meet lots of new people, such as HOCO or formals, events outside of school hours for parents who work during school hours, such as 2 shifts or single shift parents, parent outreach to feeder schools for inclusivity, shadow days to encourage youth and build community with current students, such as with sports, good stories of inclusivity, assigned mentors, more diversity at groups like this, more surveys like the one that was distributed in November, especially analyzing the responses about trusted adults. Do these adults even know these students' name? Teacher training/learning/introspection. Equipping down with more opportunities for mixed groups of students, not level to work. The return of homeroom/advisory, especially for South Campus, focus on SEL or cultural dialogue. Asking students what their barriers are to belonging and success, such as home or siblings, risk or fear, more money, tuition, guidance, work, or commitments. More counselors and social workers. Often a very capable student isn't able to participate in extra activities or take high-level courses because their home life doesn't support this. Don't have time in the evening due to home or life barriers and commitments. Economic peace get forgotten. How does LT plan to make the care room a safe space that students do not avoid for fear of stigma? Allow students to connect their interests with their schoolwork. More student choice in assignments. How will LT share the equity agenda to LE community sphere? More positive reinforcement more often. Advertise teacher testimonials. More diverse teachers. More monthly event-based activities like Snowball. Better communication to students. Sophomore catch-up after COVID gap. Missing out on learning resources. More actively receiving feedback. Make priorities clear. 1, belonging. 2, academic achievement. Stronger street line, maybe even a Canvas page. Support kids without IEP/504 who are struggling. Parents who will push will get more services for their students. Are support study halls or tutoring available for students based on teacher recommendation? there doesn't seem to be an equitable distribution of special education services. How do some kids get diagnosed and serviced while others don't? What services are available to struggling students? How does this advertise to parents?
So those were our three questions. Those are our responses. We have 2 more meetings in next semester, and so we will be back to report on those.
Thank you. Yeah, February 16th and April 27th are our spring dates, and that synopsis right there is the result of about 2.5 hours worth of discussion on November 17th. So obviously, anytime, whether it's LTCAC or student focus groups, we get so much really valuable data and feedback that we can use. Our leadership teams review this, look at this, see, to really just develop common themes. And so, but thank you to Yanfu, Kate for not only being there that evening, but being willing to share those perspectives with our Board of Education. Just moving along in the superintendent's report, the district has received 4 FOIA requests since our last meeting. We had a local news reporter request information related to student focus groups, which were conducted in October. We had a contractor request all available contracts for any existing cell tower licenses. We had 2 contractors request documentation related to the South Campus Bennett Field resurfacing bid process. And we had a contractor request bid documents related to the 2022 North and South Campus mechanical projects next summer. So in closing, I just want to mention that on Wednesday, our students and staff will bring the first semester to a close and hopefully begin to enjoy a much, much deserved winter break. We set out in August with a very simple goal of returning to an environment that included classrooms full of students and staff, and also restoring the on-campus opportunities in music and theater and clubs and activities and athletics that LT is famous for. We know that we all benefit when we are together learning and celebrating all the amazing things that make our school so special. So there are certainly always moments that challenge us individually and collectively, and that has been the case this fall as well, there's no doubt. But personally, I'm really proud of the work that we're doing together as a school community, and it's all geared towards one ultimate goal, and that's helping students achieve success. So throughout winter break, I think it's really important to take some time to relax and recharge, enjoy the activities that we may not have had time to enjoy these last few months, reconnect with family, friends, and loved ones. I truly believe that our Board of Ed and our staff and our students, our parents, and our community can do all of that knowing that each one of you made such a tremendous positive impact on our community throughout this first semester. And because of that, I look ahead to 2022 with a tremendous amount of optimism and excitement for all that we're going to accomplish together. So to everyone, to our Board of Education, and to everyone in the LT family, happy holidays and best wishes for the new year. That concludes my superintendent report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. I think that echoes a lot of sentiments in the room from us as well. Can move on now to unfinished business. We have 1 action item under there, the adoption of the 2021 property tax levy resolution. Mr. Stachak.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. So for those of you who've been doing this now, this is the 5th time that we are seeing the adoption of the 2021 tax levy. I promise you, you will not see the adoption of the 2022 levy until October of 2022. So if you're going to miss it, go ahead and mark your calendars for that. That being said, we're just briefly going to take you back through a couple of bullet points here to talk about with this particular tax levy. Again, it is the 2021 levy because it's always a year in arrears. And so the first tax bill on this levy will come out presumably in February of 2022. And then the second installment sometime in the late summer to fall of 2022 as well. That being said, the next year's levy is always based on the prior year tax levy. And so in 2020, the district's total extension was $71,978,000. And by the way, just for reference, that's roughly 85, almost 86% of the total revenue for operating revenue for the district. We are capped by the Consumer Price Index, the CPI number, in December of 20, which was 1.4%. And so adding 1.4% to that number is a little more than $1 million for the 2021 levy, bringing our estimated levy to $72,986,000. I just want to be clear on one thing here. That does not mean that each individual homeowner or business owner will see a 1.4% increase. There's still a factor of this that we do not control, and that is the assessment process. And so there can be pockets within the community that go up more than 1.4% or not. It just simply is a factor of what that assessment looks like. Again, we do not control that. So that's the first part of the levy. The second part is we have to estimate what our new property number is going to be, and we really don't know what that number is going to be until we actually see that tax levy in the final documents, which are usually sent to us June, July of the following year. And so that being the case, in order to make sure that we capture all of the dollars in any given year, because if we don't capture them in the first year, we can never go back and capture them again, we are looking at adding in $60 million of new property. I don't particularly think that there's the opportunity for $60 million, but what that does is it covers us in the event that we do get up to a higher number. And so if in fact that new property number was $60 million, we'd add another $1.2 million to the levy. If in fact it was $30 million, which is probably more of a realistic number, about half of that, about $600,000. But again, we up that number to make sure that we capture everything in that first year, because we can never go back and get it again. Because again, the next year's levy will be a factor of a percentage increase. And so if that money's not there in the first year, we're not able to go back and get it again. And so that being said, the total levy, including that $60 million of estimated new property, would be for $74,192,000. It's in aggregate total 3.08% increase over the prior year. And again, 1.4% of that attributable to the consumer price index increase, which is what we're capped at. And then kind of going down, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned to you, I'm on page 14 of the packet, which has the spreadsheet there. And then you see the numbers for that $74,192,000 attributable to each individual fund that the district operates from. And then going down the column there, you'll also see that we added a bond and interest levy, and that levy is separate because it's not an operating levy. It's a levy that goes that is utilized to pay our bond and interest commitments. And so really that fund is essentially a clearinghouse fund where the money comes in and it goes out to pay those obligations. And so if you add that total dollar amount, another $2,575,000, you get a total proposed levy for 2021 of $76,768,000. That includes now both the $74,192,000 plus the $2,575,000 for the bond and interest, and that is an increase over the prior year of 2.88%. And so those were the numbers that were advertised as we had the public hearing earlier. That was the information that was advertised in the newspaper. And again, we're estimating here. We have to do that as part of this process, but we think we're in good shape with these particular numbers. We also have to estimate the tax rate. We have to estimate what the EAV, total EAV of the community is. Again, a lot of numbers that we don't know, but we think we have a pretty good handle on those from the historical perspective. So that being said, I'd be happy to answer any final questions on this. The recommendation is for the Board of Education to adopt the 2021 property tax levy as presented.
Anyone, any questions? Okay, then with that, is there a motion to adopt the 2021 property tax levy resolution as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, can you call the roll, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Next up, under new business action items, we have the resolution authorizing a supplemental tax levy to pay the principal of and interest on outstanding limited bonds of Township High School District Number 204, Cook County. Mr. Stachek again.
Thank you. And again, as we just talked about, that bond and interest levy, right? That's that separate levy, that sort of clearinghouse account where the money comes in and goes out to pay our bond obligations. And so this particular resolution allows us to increase that tax levy by the 1.4% as well. Prior to 2009, school districts were not allowed to increase that levy once it was established. And so the Local Government Debt Reform Act in the state of Illinois in 2009 allowed us to do that. However, they also then, in order to increase it by the 1.4%, require us to take a separate resolution. And so again, as I pointed out, the bond and interest levy for the year 2020 was $2,540,000. The 1.4% additional dollar amount gives us $35,561 more dollars, for a total levy in 2021 of $2,575,000. And again, this is factored in. When we sold the bonds in 2013 and 2014, this increase was factored into our repayment schedule. And so again, this resolution is simply to increase that levy alone. Be happy to answer any questions on that as well. And this is the third time that we have seen this information.
Anyone? Okay. Thank you then. Is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the supplemental tax levy to pay the principal of and interest on outstanding limited bonds of Township High School District 204, Cook County?
So moved. Second.
Marilyn, can you please call the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and then next up, we have the fiscal year 2021 independent audit. That's you again.
Thank you. And so as we talked extensively about this information during the committee of the whole meeting, we actually had Kevin Smith partner with Eder Casella, which is the independent auditor that we have contracted with to perform this audit. And we heard from Kevin that there were no issues whatsoever related to the accounting practices within the district, which is great. And again, that's very much attributable to Kathy Moran, who works in my office as well. She does an excellent job in making sure that we're following all of those practices and policies. And so there was no management letter included in this, which is outstanding information. So basically, it's a clean opinion on our audit. And so as I've mentioned last Monday night, this is kind of like my final exam here in terms of how we operated in the fiscal year 2021. And so as Kevin Smith pointed out, there were no issues. Everything was provided to them in a timely manner and as expected. And so ultimately, the district did operate this past year with a $5.5 million surplus, which really is an outlier compared to the prior years. And really the reason for that is some of the lack of expense that we had talked about. Transportation was one of them. Transportation expenditures are down about $1.5 million from prior years, or what we would have expected them to be. There were salary amounts such as substitutes that were down. Building and grounds, some of the purchase services, supplies were certainly down as well, based on the usage that we didn't have of some of the facilities last year due to the pandemic. And so we certainly don't anticipate seeing that kind of a surplus moving forward. And so really, as far as that goes, like I said, a clean opinion is always good. Not only, of course, do I attribute it to the staff in my office, but there are other offices that are involved. HR, curriculum, superintendent's office. There's a lot of information that is asked for by the auditors. Not only are they looking at financial pieces, but they're also coming in and, for example, checking certifications on certified teachers. Do we have those in our possession, and can we prove those types of things? And so there are other areas. So thank you to all of those offices as well for doing such an excellent job with this. And so that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions on this. And if what we would ask the board to do, the recommendation would be for the board to accept the FY21 annual audit and financial statements as presented.
I just want to briefly commend you, Brian, for your leadership and for your team and the broader teams who participate in this. This is something to be noted. To have an independent auditor come in and issue a clean opinion, I mean, it is the expectation, so just going forward as well, but it's a tremendous amount of work to get to that point. And then secondly, to have no management letter, meaning that the auditors, these independent auditors had, based on all their testing of internal controls and procedures, had no recommendations for improvement on our controls. So just wanted to mention that and thank you for all the hard work you and the broader team do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you did great on your final exam.
Thanks, thanks.
We're happy you don't have to do a retake.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Certainly, we always want to do great on this final exam. There's no doubt about that. So thank you.
Congrats. And
Thank you.
thank you to you and Kathy and everybody that has a part of this, but really phenomenal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So with that, is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 2021 annual independent audit and financial statements as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, can you please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. So our final item, agenda item under finance, is the fiscal year 2022 property tax relief grant application submission to the Illinois State Board of Education. Mr. Stachak, please.
Thank you again. And so we just talked about the tax levy, and really, this was created, this particular property tax relief grant was created in 2017 as part of the state of Illinois' change at state of Illinois and how they changed funding. And so they offered this grant to school districts for the purpose of essentially deferring, abating some of your tax levy money, and then the state supplementing some of that. And I say some of it because it isn't all of it. But that being said, they've offered this grant now. This is the third time that they've offered it. There's roughly $50 million, available to districts. If you look at the chart, the spreadsheet that they put together, currently District 204 is number 517 on the list for a grant. So we certainly are down at the end of that list. And there are $666 million worth of potential grants ahead of us. So that being said, I think there's a fairly slim chance that we would receive a grant. However, I think it's also prudent for us to apply for it. And if we don't get it, then we don't get it. But we certainly can't get it if we don't apply for it. There are specifics that we would have to go through if we were to receive it. We're not going to talk about those tonight because I have an outline here in the executive summary for you. Just quickly, the numbers. District 204, we'd have to provide roughly $2.5 million of property tax relief. We would abate those dollars in a 2021 and probably 2022 tax levy because you have to do it for 2 years. And then the state would supplement us with $1.1 million. So the net loss to the district would be roughly $1.4 million over those 2 years. Again, we're not going to go through the specifics of all of that tonight because we're not at that point. But we can talk through that. If the state was to notify us that we did receive a grant, we can talk through all of the mechanics of how that would work and how we would want to handle that going forward. So that being said, really what we're looking for tonight is for the board to approve the submission of the property tax relief grant application for FY22 to the Illinois State Board of Education.
That's great, thanks. And Brian, we've done this, we've applied every year.
We have. We've applied for the last 2 cycles, and we did not receive a grant.
Right. But we
Again,
bumped
we
up-
were down on
bumped
that
up a
list
little
as
bit,
well.
right? Didn't we bump up our number?
Yeah, I think we're up a little bit. Yeah, because there are districts that have, ahead of us that have received grants.
Sure.
And so maybe we'll go up, but again, it's a slow process,
Sure.
being number 517 on the list with $50 million available in grants and 666 in front of us.
It's going to go fast.
I think it might be a while, but who knows?
Sure, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Great. Is there a motion to approve the submission of the property tax relief grant application for fiscal year 2022 to ISB?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, can you please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Great, next up we have, under facilities, the first item under facilities is the electrical vault renovation project. Mr. Stachek again.
Thank you again. And again, we talked about this extensively during the committee, the whole meeting, under the facilities section of that meeting. As we know, we have this electric vault out here at Exit 7 that houses all of the equipment that supplies as main power supply to the North Campus main building. And so as we discussed, essentially we're having some failure in that vault, which has been leading to 2 power outages in the last 3 years, 2018 and now 2021. And so we've been in discussions with our architect, with our electrical engineer, and also ComEd. And really, the recommendation is to take that equipment out of that vault and bring it above ground. And during the meeting, we talked about the location of what we had landed on for that equipment, and it's to the south. And if you actually look in the location where we would put that equipment, you would also see that we have out there, we also have the dumpsters are out there. There's also a generator that we have that is out there as well. Again, those are all fenced in. And we would look at doing something along the lines with this equipment as well. But this is the location that makes sense. We talked about other locations. Some of those locations, the other locations in the parking lot right now out there at Exit 7, we would end up losing some or all of the use of that parking lot. There's also a loading door here for the stage at the Reber Center that we didn't want to lose use of. And then also, we talked about going to the north. There are sidewalks and also, entrance and exit. We also have a steam line that is under the ground there that comes into the North Campus from the boilers across the street. And so really some of the other locations didn't make a whole lot of sense when we looked at where they were and some of the obstacles we had to overcome. So, it's certainly our intent. We recognize that, the west side there along Park Road will look a little bit different with this equipment out there. We've also talked about fencing the equipment in and, keeping it so that it obviously isn't an eyesore to the community. But again, at this point, all the recommendations from everybody, ComEd, our architect, electrical engineer, are to move that equipment above ground. Because even if we just renovate the vault, we'll be, again, doing this at some point in the future, and it doesn't really make sense to put that money at that, and then, maybe 20 years from now or sometime up the road, we're doing it again. That'll end that issue. And so really tonight, what we're asking the board to do, there's nothing, no decision obviously in terms of dollars. We know that this is somewhat of an expensive project in terms of total dollars. We're anticipating between $500,000 and $650,000. But what we're asking the board to do tonight is to allow us to essentially create bid specifications and then go to bid for this project. So ultimately, if that happens, what we would do is we would work on those bid specs, get those out there, and then we bring all of that back to the board before anything happens, because the board would have to approve the bids. The ComEd piece is going to be fixed, that I can tell you, because their equipment, they're talking about, it's actually them selling the equipment to us is about $125,000, and so the rest of it's going to be the labor to, essentially the conduit, replacing all the electric lines that go from the southern area now back to the northern area, because we do have an electrical room in North Campus that this power has to get back to. So ultimately, that's really what we'll be bidding. The ComEd piece is it's kind of fixed, and that's the equipment we're going to have to use. So that's our request tonight for the board to approve the bid specifications, and of course we would come back before anything happens. That will all come back to the board for approval.
Brian, we talked a little bit too about like the timing of it, because of the fact that obviously power is shut down. And so that's another part of why this is pretty critical from a timing standpoint.
It is, and as we're kind of, when we talked about during the last meeting, we're kind of wrapping up the final specifics on this. And, if the board approves the bid specifications now, we don't have to come back and have a special meeting at another time to approve those bid specifications, or I'm sorry, to approve the going to bid with those specifications. So it just makes sense to do this now. We have this opportunity, the window in the summer of '22, and really if it's not done there, we're talking about another year after that, because there's no way this is a project that is, during the winter break or the spring break or anything along those lines.
Well, and we got lucky the last time with the power outage that it occurred over the weekend, that it didn't disrupt learning and didn't disrupt our daily practices.
Yeah, the Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend. And also this, we talked about the fact that this doesn't impact or impede us from doing any of the other summer work for 2022 that we went to. So I think it makes a great deal of sense, and I'm glad we're doing this.
Great.
I apologize if you had said this. How long of a project is this?
It's probably the better part of the summer, because of the again, the ComEd equipment would have to be put in place, and then we have to run the conduit, the wiring back to the mechanical room, the electrical mechanical room here at North Campus. So I would anticipate the project probably being anywhere from 1 to 2 months would be my guess. And then, of course, there will also be some sort of a shutdown of power as we switch over. ComEd has mentioned to us that that could be 2 to 5 days. We'll talk through that with them. We haven't worked through those specifics. It's possible that 2 of those days could be weekend days in the summer or whatever, but we'll work through that as we get further into the project.
And switch camps around or switch what we need.
Yeah, we'll figure all of that out.
Okay.
That's right.
Anybody else? Okay, great. Thank you, Brian. Is there a motion to approve the electrical vault project bid specification?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll, Marilyn.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear?
Yes.
Member Lisa Daniel?
Yes.
Member Gretsch? Yes. Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. The last item that we have on facilities tonight then is the Bennett Field Track Resurfacing Painting Project Contract with Track Surfaces Company.
Thank you. And after this, I'll be quiet. So we have one of our capital projects for this coming summer was the resurfacing and painting, striping of the track at Bennett Field. And so we recently, on December 7th, had opened bids for that project. We had 2 bids that were received. One was for $227,250, and also the second bid, that was from Biano Sports Surfaces, and then from Track Surfaces Company, $143,000, which certainly was much more reasonable and much more expected in terms of that total dollar amount. And so ultimately, there is a $3,000 allowance in this project, so the 143 could become 140, assuming that we did not use any of that allowance money for any unforeseen conditions at this point. So really, what we would recommend tonight is that the board approve the contract with Track Surfaces Company for the completion of the work associated with the Bennett Field Track Resurfacing Painting Project in the amount of $143,000.
Any questions? Great, thank you, Brian. Is there a motion to approve the contract then with Track Surfaces Company for the completion of work associated with the Bennett Field Track Resurfacing Painting Project in the amount of $143,000?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, please call the roll.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear?
Yes.
Yes.
Member Gretsch? Yes. Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Yes. Great. And then next, under our new business, we have an information item, and that is the 2021-22 school profile. Scott Eggerding, please.
Thank you, President Dillon. Tonight I am sharing with you our 2021 school profile. This is an item that we put together following best practice from the National Association of College Admissions Counseling that really highlights the graduating class of the previous year, highlights a number of the achievements of our students also during the previous year, and provides an overview of our school and community for college admissions officers. This is also something that we leave on our website and that our community is more than welcome to take a look at as well. And for the purpose of this evening, I also did some summary information just for the board to review. This has been an opportunity for, like I said, all of us to look back at the previous year, do a little bit of bragging, find out some information from our students about where they're planning to go once they leave LT, and let a college admissions counselor know what type of student graduates from Lyons Township High School. So what we have in the summary includes information about 2- and 4-year college plans, whether they're going to public or private colleges. One item of note, we did have 11% of our seniors last year not report this information. That's a little higher than normal. But that is something, it is, everything in here as far as that class of 21 is self-reported. Although even with 11% not reporting, we did find out that those graduates who did report will attend 201 colleges in 40 states, Canada, Italy, Serbia, and Spain. That graduating class also reported the acceptance of $17 million of scholarships. They were offered quite a bit more, but we only count what they actually are going to use. We also did have a chance just to review. We heard tonight that the class of 2022 will have 225 Illinois State Scholars. We had 200 this past year. So again, it's a good way to compare some things there. What you'll also see is a little bit about our shift to our honor system and GPA ranges. If you recall, when we eliminated class rank, we needed to report some information about our graduates. That includes our GPA ranges. So our unweighted GPA has a median of 3.33, and our weighted GPA has a 3.889. That gives you a sense of everything above that and below that, just for some comparison. For those students who either earned a 4.0 unweighted GPA or a 5.0 or higher weighted GPA, we had 89 students for high honors. When we first considered this, we thought we would have approximately the top 5% of students. We're now nearing the top 9% of students. So by eliminating that rank and providing a target, we have more students who are attaining those targets. Our Gold L honors is similar. It's either a 3.66 or higher unweighted or a 4.5 or higher weighted GPA, and we had 323 students accomplish that feat. So this is an opportunity for our students to demonstrate recognition and not do the ranking. Other information that's shared included the SAT performance, AP performance, and other honors and awards, many of which you learn about here at these board meetings. But for the first time, we also added dual credit. So that showed 71 students through Embry-Riddle earned dual credit, 769 students earned dual credit through Indiana University in Spanish, French, and English courses. 88 students earned dual credit through Moraine Valley Community College in astronomy, calculus 3, and linear algebra. And then through COD, we have quite a number of courses that totaled 622 students. So our students are not only walking out of here with opportunities to earn college credit, they actually have college transcripted credit. The other piece you'll see is a list of all of our accelerated and honors courses. We are a unique organization that has an accelerated level. Most schools have only 2, so we want to make sure that admissions officers understand the breadth of our curriculum. And lastly, there is the summary page of where we've been. And I think it's helpful in looking to see whether or not we have recovered, or the class of 21 recovered, or has moved to more like the pandemic year of the previous, or if they're more in comparison to years prior to the pandemic. As far as graduates go, we're in the ballpark of where we've been over the last 6 years. As far as the number of colleges, where there's only been 1 year that's had more out of the last since 2016. Our scholarship money attendant is well within the average of where we've been. That anomaly year of 2019, when $24 million was approved, there were some kids who got some crazy money to go to a lot of places, including multiple military appointments, which include all sorts of extras that go along with that. You can see that range of high honors students. So last year's graduates were only 3 students behind our high watermark of 2019, and our Gold L honors are the highest they ever were. So all in all, I mean, we certainly know that graduating class was challenged. They had a junior year unlike any other, and a senior year about as unique. But from what our students are reporting and from what we've been able to see, they performed extremely well given the circumstances. So I'm happy to share that information with everyone here tonight. I would be willing to answer any questions.
It's awesome.
Scott, I know Michael had asked last week about that counselor's report. Is this the report that goes out to colleges, like when colleges ask for the counselor's report?
This goes out with every transcript. As far as the counselor report, it depends on the college and depends on the application. But I did not learn anything new about that from last week.
Sounded like that was that more individual?
Yeah, depending on the school the student applies to, an individual profile would go with that student, but it depends on the application and the school. But what we presented tonight, that goes with every transcript.
With every
That's
transcript.
Because that's more general to the school, versus the individual student.
And we were going to have this posted on our website, or maybe it already is.
It's
It
been
is,
there
yeah.
since the 1st of October.
Fabulous.
It's on the About LTHS drop-down menu.
Okay, great. Including, we talked about this last summary page that is excellent, that has such really good information on here too. Were we able to get that posted, or can we get that up there as well?
Yeah, I gave that to Jennifer Bialabach, and she was
Fabulous.
making
Yeah.
sure that was out as well.
Yeah, this is really impressive. This is a really great snapshot of our students and the hard work that they put in, and I think this will be really helpful to see this in the community.
A lot of celebrations.
Yeah,
for
thank
sure.
you. Anybody else? Great, thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on now, we have our consent agenda. Can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, can you please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Great, thank you. At this time now, we will begin the non-agenda related portion of our public comments. Marilyn, do we have any non-agenda related comments tonight? Okay. But before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that the Board of Education welcomes and encourages public comments during Board of Education meetings. There are 2 opportunities for audience members to address the board as outlined in the agenda: at the beginning for agenda-related items, and then at the end of the meeting for non-agenda-related items. We kindly ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. While the board appreciates your participation, please understand we cannot actively engage in dialogue during public comment. We take all matters seriously, and if there is a specific question or comment that requires follow-up, the appropriate board or Board of Education, administration contact will respond at a later time. Please also note that while the Board of Ed encourages constructive participation, we will not allow disparaging, ignorant, racist, homophobic, or hateful comments. Individuals addressing the board are expected to conduct themselves with respect and civility toward others and adhere to our board policy 830. Furthermore, individuals shall not strike, injure, threaten, or intimidate a staff member, board member, or any other person. Individuals shall not use vulgar or obscene language or impede, delay, disrupt, or interfere with a board meeting. Thank you. Marilyn, can you please call our first speaker?
Dr. Yount?
Yes, my name is Dr. Joseph Yount. I was here last week, and you can think of this as TikTok Part 2. Last Monday, I had a chance to speak to you about the alarming rise in COVID cases in the whole community and in the LTHS student population. The most current figures indicate a further 3-fold increase in just the last week. Dr. Waterman has already mentioned that this is the case. I believe that members of our community are accountable for the consequences of their choices. With freedom comes responsibility. This is one of the finest lessons that any student could learn in high school. I learned it several times myself. I want to focus on emphasizing the positive consequences of vaccination and the adoption of safe health practices. This board has the authority to continue to find effective ways to encourage students to comply with sensible and effective health practices. No doubt, you have discussed the wisdom of many practices and strategies already. If you have been afraid that some ideas are too drastic or controversial, think again. I have several ideas. Allow in-person learning and school attendance to vaccinated students only. Students and families who refuse vaccination may choose to engage in enhanced remote learning instead. Students, when engaged in sports and extracurricular activities, must show proof of vaccination. They do this all over the country, even in Alabama, where I have nieces and nephews. No student may start at LT or transfer to LT without proof of vaccination. No student may receive a diploma in person without proof of vaccination. 60% of LT students are vaccinated. That's 2,400 kids. Let's support them with the rewards of good civic responsibility. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Marilyn, can you call our next speaker?
Lindsay Dillon. Addison Schaefer. Laura Tusing.
Hi there. The last time I addressed the board, I read passages from 2 different books that are available to LT students, passages I called pornographic. Dr. Waterman called me to discuss my concerns and began the review process of the reading material. He noted that the books were both critically acclaimed and received awards, and part of the wide variety that is made available to the students that make them acceptable. Critically acclaimed and awarded, I ask by whom and which standards. As to the wide variety, exactly how wide does this variety go and what are the limits? The books I shared are only what I have stumbled upon. There might be others. When I pointed out that the books were less than well written, Dr. Waterman reluctantly agreed and said that was the problem with teen writers. They write to appeal to teenagers to get them to read. In other words, the standard and quality of the books is lower to get to teens to read. Shouldn't we be raising the standard? It seems we've chosen to move away from the quality works of literature that can address social and emotional learning issues, which could act as a catalyst for conversations that would require the students to think critically. Why not have those books on your summer reading list instead? If you haven't read the books I quoted, I highly suggest you do. You can read them both in a day. They're very quick reads. And then ask yourself, what's the purpose? There's no hope, growth, moral character, or integrity that you would want a student to learn or develop from. With all the classics and the other higher caliber reading material available, why would one of these be on a reading list, much less be critically acclaimed? But what really didn't make sense to me was his inability to call pornographic material pornography, or even obscene. I read the school policy that states obscene, vulgar, or pornographic material that cannot be used, or cannot be used, period. He said there are other books with racial slurs and explicit language. Explicit language and pornography are not the same. He explained the school policy. As long as it's not openly discussed or posted at the school, it's acceptable. Then he said, and I'm quoting, "In fact, your comments at the board meeting were out of line," unquote. So then it is pornography? Why else would I have been out of line? It appears that you're blurring the lines of your own policy, or you're blurring the lines of the definition of pornography. Whatever the case, there's no need for it in our schools. I don't say this lightly, but disguising pornography, violence, and hateful comments that are in these books as literature and education is sure to guarantee an ill-equipped and depressed generation. We owe it to them to change course immediately, and I ask you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Becky Lawrenson.
Thank you. I just wanted to continue to support the work that the board has been doing on equity and inclusion, and wish everybody a happy holiday, and thank you all for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harold Gibson.
Thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to also thank the Board of Directors for all that you're doing, and I've been watching you from behind the scenes as you've steadily grown and moved forward with the equity and so forth and so on. And I've observed a lot of your compassion, and I want to thank you, your board, for having such determination of trying to move forward so that we have a better and higher education. One of the things that grew up with that the elders always told me in my community, and I think it's something we always should think of. Education is our salvation, because without the education, we do not grow. Thank you, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year, and I hope we have a very successful educational year next year.
D. Gonzalez.
Hello. I just want to take the time to say thank you to everyone on the board. It's been a tough year for me and my son, but I just want to take the time and say thank you to Jim for being more than accountable. We bumped heads a few times, I'm going to be honest, but we've come to a good place. And I just want to share that. And I also want to touch bases with the student that shared on equity and inclusion, and also recognize the diversity program also the school started at LT. And I lived in Brookfield for 9 years, and my kids are biracial. So this program means a lot. It's perfect timing, especially during a time like this. If you're not familiar with the program, I would tell you, please take your time, get involved, get your kids involved, learn about other cultures. Me and my kids, we always learn about other cultures. You never know about people's upbringing. This is a time for everybody to unite. Life is short. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Jeanette Quirk.
Greetings to the esteemed board members, Board President Ms. Dillon, Dr. Waterman, and the entire administrative team. I came to this meeting to say thank you, we need you, and we support you. As an educator and a school psychologist, I'm aware of the complexity of the work that you do in typical times. We've all witnessed the challenges that COVID has brought to your roles, a challenge we obviously continue to experience every day. Thank you for continuing and doing your best work by preparing for meetings, learning the laws and literature, and developing relationships. Thank you, Dr. Waterman, for your quick replies to my emails and calls. Thanks for sharing your values with the board and greatly increasing the quality and quantity of the communications from your office to the LT community. Thank you to the board for your professional and compassionate behavior, especially towards the community members that come here to be heard and to get answers. Now I want to thank the community members who have assembled here. Thanks to those who have paid attention, spoken up for their views on issues facing our students. I thank those whose views I disagree with. Thanks to those whose legacies in the community, military service, and outrage over equity, masks, and curriculum content have been used to verbally harass the board. You have reminded me of my commitment to stay involved, to stay professional, compassionate, and persistent, and to do so in a way that is not abusive. We live in a world that is both dangerous and full of beauty and promise. To thrive, we have to hold these opposing forces in balance. We can only do that by becoming the best version of ourselves, by helping others to do the same. We need to turn away from any messages that tell us to be angry and to turn towards the voices that urge us to collaborate. That is the legacy that we can leave our students. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beth Augustine.
Good evening. My name is Beth Augustine, as you just said. I'm a graduate of this fine institution. I loved my time here. I'm also the mother of a soon-to-be young man who will graduate in 2030. First, my deepest thank you to this board and this staff for your efforts to continually examine and review our system and to make it the best it can be. Like everything before us, the intention here is to improve the experience for the students. I appreciate how difficult it can be, and I applaud your efforts. Since my time here, some things haven't changed. This beautiful building, outside and in, this room hasn't changed a bit since I was here. Our reputation as well hasn't changed much. We're still an extremely competitive school, well-rounded. I came here tonight, like many here, to say thank you, as I have, and that I support what you're doing, and I am grateful that you do it. It's difficult to get people to run and stick around. You put up with a lot, but I know you're fulfilled by it, and that's why you're here. And to follow up on some things that have been said tonight and were said in recent meetings that I became aware of and watched, I am concerned. Not that people have different opinions about literature, but that people think that banning books essentially is the way to go. There are different perspectives and viewpoints from our young people and our adults. While we all may not be comfortable with that content, where do we start and where do we end if we begin banning books again? There's an internet full of things that our kids can easily get a handle on. And what you do here, and the variety that you try to provide here, certainly deserves to continually be examined, possibly change. But let's not start banning books. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. C.
Keeps the time. I just want to know when you do. You'll let me know when my 3 minutes start. Give me a second, please.
Your 3 minutes will begin as soon as you begin speaking.
Okay. Oh, sorry about this, old man. Okay, I'm going to start. All right. I've been asking about these mask mandates since August. I informed the board then about the mental issues, the depression, the suicides directly related and caused by masking our kids. And I pled to Dr. Waterman over here about it because he's the head of the board. He makes the decisions on everything here at LT. So he makes a call. The rest of them, I don't want to call them bobbleheads, that's kind of mean, but they can't go against, by charter, they can't vote against anything he says. You can go back to all their meetings and you can see.
Mr. C, I'm going to stop you. You're making some disparaging comments.
Oh, I didn't mean to. Sorry. I apologize. Okay, so anyway, I pled to Dr. Waterman about this. I didn't get an answer about it. I came back again. Finally, in October, I got a form letter about Emperor Pritzker's mandate or proclamation, whatever it is. I don't understand that stuff. But he wouldn't even discuss it with me, Dr. Waterman. So I realized that he was a bobblehead. Or he was just nodding his head and going along with everything. If you don't know what a bobblehead is, what's a bobblehead?
Mr. C, your time is up, and I'm going to ask you to leave the auditorium now. And if you don't leave in the next 10 seconds, you'll be in violation of trespassing.
Why is that? How did I trespass? I'm right here talking. All I'm doing is talking. Okay, so
We do not allow personally disparaging comments, and you're asked to leave the auditorium right now. And if you do not leave, you will be in violation of trespassing.
Can you explain to me what disparaging comment I made, sir? Okay, so what you got to know.
That's it. Mr. C, you may leave now. You don't reside in the district.
Okay, so everybody knows, Guys will be vaccinating your kids, and they'll be killing them. This is school started, so you should sacrifice a little, sacrifice one for the month. Good luck to you.
Mary O'Dowd is next.
Okay, Mary O'Dowd.
Can I take off my mask? I'm just having, thanks.
We prefer that you wear it.
No, please wear your mask.
All right.
That's policy. We'll hear you just fine.
No, it's an asthma thing. That's Good evening. Mary O'Dowd, LT Class of 1980, resident of Darien. Thank you for allowing me to speak. LT's official equity statement says LT remains committed to building a community based on a foundation of equity and inclusion where all students are treated with respect and dignity and know they belong. Sounds great. But sounding like a great idea is not enough. We need proof that all students do indeed feel included, that all students have access to resources, and that all students feel they belong here at LT. A November 9 tweet from LT Equity 204 notes that LT was selected to participate in a national book study in which resources are provided by the Zinn Education Project. The Zinn Education Project is named for the late Howard Zinn, a radical Marxist historian. Now, I am not here to ban or censor any books, far from it. Personally, Marxism is not my cup of tea, but for those who want to read that sort of thing, they should have access to those materials. That said, in the spirit of LT's official equity statement, students who hold differing views, such as more conservative values, should also be made to feel included at LT, to feel as if they too belong. Take, for example, the group of students wishing to form a chapter of Turning Point USA here at LT. According to a November 29 email response from Superintendent Waterman, thank you, the application for the club has still not been approved. I respectfully ask the board, how is this being inclusive to all students? How are these students with conservative views made to feel as if they belong at LT? Do they not also merit access to all LT has to offer? Finally, I heard a heartbreaking account at last month's board meeting when a student was brought to tears when she was told by her teacher that she could not say a certain censored holiday phrase. Well, in the spirit of inclusion and belonging, if that young woman is listening tonight, I am sad that my alma mater refused to include you and your cultural beliefs. But please know that I care about you, and I wish you a Merry Christmas and a New Year in which you are included and made to feel like you truly belong at LT. I thank you all for your time and service and wish you happy holidays. Thank you.
There are no further comments.
That's all for tonight? Thank you. Well, then, in this, I would like to say on behalf of the board that we want to wish everyone a very, very happy holiday season. Get a lot of rest, recharge, refuel. We're ready for 2022. We'll have a bright, fresh start. We'll look forward to seeing you all then. I guess then, is there a motion to adjourn tonight, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a nice holiday. Thanks, everyone.